Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be diving into La Espiritualidad M4A,
Okay.
and I think this is going to be a really fun one
Yeah.
because it really shakes things up in
Yeah.
terms of how we think about spirituality.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because right away, it kind of throws out that traditional view of spirituality.
Yeah,
All that like you have to reject material wealth and,
yeah.
be this humble person and follow the
So
guru.
like all those like old ideas
Yeah.
that maybe feel a little outdated now.
Right.
But what I think is interesting is it's saying that true spirituality is not about any of that.
Right.
It's not about fitting into some box that's already been defined.
Yeah, it's more about, like a journey of self-discovery. Like, who are you really? Not who someone says you should be.
Yeah.
Like all these external expectations.
Well, instead of trying to like save the world or
Yeah.
follow some, guru on a mountaintop.
Right, which honestly can be pretty exhausting.
Yeah, totally. And it's saying that can actually be a distraction from like real inner work.
Yeah, and like all of those answers are already inside of you.
Yeah.
They're not out there.
It's like we're looking in the wrong places.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It says that we should embrace our like darkness and ego.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, that goes against everything I thought I knew about spirituality.
Yeah, right. Like all this stuff about conquering the ego and.
You get rid of bad stuff.
Right, exactly. And this piece is saying, no, like you need to embrace all of that.
Hmm.
If you reject those parts of yourself, you can't be whole.
So it's more about like integration rather than elimination.
Exactly. Yeah, you need all of it.
Okay.
Like think about it. If you could only use half of your brain, you couldn't function.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's the same thing with like, our inner selves. We need all of the parts, the light and the shadow.
Okay, that makes sense, but like, how do we do that?
Yeah, what does it look like? What does it look like to embrace the shadow self?
Does this source give us any like practical advice?
Well, it doesn't, give you like step-by-step instructions,
Right.
but it really stresses the importance of like understanding and accepting, these parts of ourselves that we usually hide or push down.
Oh.
It's about getting curious,
Yeah.
exploring them with compassion.
So less fighting and more, bringing in the light.
Yeah, exactly. There's this beautiful metaphor it uses. It says that darkness is simply unilluminated potential, waiting for our inner light.
So it's like we all have these like untapped resources inside of us.
Exactly. And when we embrace them, we can tap into like this whole new level of like self-awareness
Okay.
and personal power.
Now that's starting to click for me.
Okay, good.
So how does this all tie back into the soul?
Yeah.
Because the source mentions that too, right?
It does, yeah. And it uses this powerful image of the soul being like this divine guide,
Uh-huh.
a source of wisdom that's always there with us.
It's not just given to us though. It's saying we have to like invite it in, right? We have to make space for it.
Totally. It's about letting go of that need to always be in control.
Yeah.
Release all those fears that keep us from connecting to that deeper part of ourselves.
So it's like a surrender,
It is.
a leap of faith.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Okay.
It says, you are so much more than you think you are.
Wow.
So when you connect with your soul, you unlock all of this potential that you never knew you had.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're embracing our shadow. We're connecting with our soul.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to get a picture of what this new spirituality looks like.
Right.
But where does that leave us in terms of like our actions and how we live our lives?
Right. Like, how does this translate into everyday life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's dive into that next.
Okay, let's do it. And that's where the freedom comes in.
Yeah.
The source talks about, being liberated from all these external things,
Mm-hmm.
not just like beliefs, but like, needing validation from other people.
Oh, so it's like stepping into our own power, like becoming our own authority.
Exactly.
Wow.
Trusting that inner compass, even if it takes us off the beaten path.
Wow.
It literally says, you are not here to please anyone.
Mm.
So you can imagine the freedom that comes with that.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to see how this all connects. Embrace our shadow, connect with our soul, and ultimately live a life that's like authentic and free.
Right. But it might get messy.
Oh, yeah. We talked about how embracing the shadow can be challenging.
Right.
Does the source talk about that?
Yeah, it acknowledges that it can be uncomfortable, even a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like opening up a dusty attic, you never know what you're going to find.
Okay, but the source is saying it's necessary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's about bringing those shadows into the light,
Mm-hmm.
not just pretending they don't exist.
So instead of trying to like fight those thoughts and feelings or
Yeah.
push them down,
you should get curious about them.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what can I learn from this?
It's like a total shift in perspective, right?
Yeah.
Instead of seeing these negative parts of ourselves as the enemy,
Mm.
it's more like they could be our teachers.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's like turning your inner critic into your inner ally.
Yeah.
And as you do that, there's more space for self-compassion and understanding.
Okay, that makes sense, but I still am having trouble with this whole embracing the ego thing.
Yeah.
Isn't the ego a bad thing?
Well, it's definitely gotten a bad rap, but
Yeah.
the source is like challenging that whole viewpoint.
Right.
It's suggesting that the ego can actually be a really powerful tool
Mm.
for growth and self-expression when it's used constructively.
So maybe it's not about getting rid of the ego, but more about learning how to work with it.
Exactly. It's a part of us,
All right.
We're complex beings. We have all these different facets.
This is making me think about what the source said about letting go of limiting beliefs.
Hmm.
It's almost like by holding on to those old ideas, we're actually like feeding the ego.
That's a good point. Because when we cling to those rigid beliefs, it creates this separation and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And that just like fuels the ego's need to feel superior.
Oh, wow. Or right. So embracing wholeness is also about letting go of those beliefs that don't serve us anymore.
Exactly. It's about creating space for, more flexibility,
Okay.
curiosity, openness.
This seems like it takes a lot of trust.
It does.
Trust in ourselves, trust in this process and, this wisdom that the source keeps talking about.
Yeah, and that's where this idea of the soul as this divine guide comes in.
Mm-hmm.
The source is saying we're not alone on this journey.
Right.
We have this like inner compass, this wisdom and strength that's
Yeah.
always available to us.
But we have to like tune into it.
Right, exactly. It's like
Right.
we have this amazing radio station
Yeah.
that's playing the most incredible music, but we're constantly, fiddling with the dial,
Right.
distracted by the
Yeah,
sad.
noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the source is encouraging us to like find that clear channel,
Okay.
that pure signal of our soul.
This is so powerful.
It is.
I'm really starting to see how embracing our wholeness, even those shadow parts,
Yeah.
can actually help us connect more deeply with our soul.
That's such a key point because those shadow parts, they're actually like guardians of the soul.
Oh, wow.
They're trying to protect us,
Mm-hmm.
keep us safe from getting hurt or rejected.
But in doing that, they can actually block us from experiencing like real joy.
Exactly. They keep us small and safe,
Mm-hmm.
but prevent us from like reaching our full potential.
So the real work is to befriend those guardians,
Yeah.
understand them,
Right.
and then show them that it's okay to let go.
That's beautiful. It's about creating this harmony inside where all the parts of ourselves feel seen and heard and
Yeah.
valued.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we're talking a whole new kind of freedom.
Yeah.
Not just freedom from like outside stuff, but freedom from, the limits we put on ourselves.
Exactly. It all comes from within.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go of all that fear, the beliefs that hold us back, the self-judgment,
Yeah.
all those things that keep us stuck.
And, a lot of that comes from needing other people to tell us we're okay. Like we're always looking for validation instead of trusting ourselves.
It's like we've given our sense of worth away to other people or to, systems or whatever.
Right.
And the source is saying that to be truly free spiritually, we have to take that power back.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with just noticing it,
Noticing when we're looking for approval.
Yeah, or comparing ourselves to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Once we see those patterns, we can start to question them.
And that's maybe where the shadow work comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like facing those insecurities and fears.
Right, because those are the things that make us look outside for validation.
Wow.
But they also hold so much information about what we really need and want deep down.
Mm-hmm.
So when we understand those parts of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
we can start to feel good about ourselves from the inside out.
This is making me think about what you said about the ego.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you said it can be a tool for growth. I was really surprised by that.
It's a different way of looking at it for sure.
Yeah.
But the ego is what makes us unique, right?
Mm.
It's our personality.
Okay.
It's what lets us express ourselves and set boundaries.
So it's more about, like you were saying, learning to use it in a healthy way.
Exactly. Finding that balance between expressing ourselves and, thinking of others, being assertive, but also considerate.
It's like the ego is this powerful horse,
Yeah.
and we have to learn how to ride it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And the source is saying that the way to do that is to connect with our soul,
Right.
that deep wisdom inside of us.
So we're back to the soul as our guide.
We are.
But it's not just something that happens to us. We have
Right.
to put in the effort.
It's about being still,
Yeah.
reflecting,
Okay.
listening to that voice inside.
And that can come through intuition, right?
Yeah, or like synchronicities.
Hmm.
Those moments when things just click.
It feels like it takes a lot of trust
It does.
to believe that we have the answers even when we don't know what they are.
Trust is so important. And the
Mm.
more we listen to that inner voice,
Yeah.
the stronger that trust becomes.
Wow, this has been an amazing conversation.
It really has.
We've talked about so much.
Yeah, from how we usually think about spirituality to embracing everything about ourselves
Hmm.
to connecting with that deeper wisdom of the soul.
It's amazing how it all fits together.
It is. It's all about true freedom.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing for our listeners to take away from this is
Hmm.
spirituality isn't about following rules.
Right.
It's about a personal journey,
Yeah.
finding out who you really are.
It's about creating a spiritual path that's meaningful for you.
And remember, you're not alone on that journey.
Mm.
You have that divine guide your soul with you every step of the way.
Trust yourself.
Embrace all of who you are and let yourself be guided to a life that's more free, more joyful, more fulfilling.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Keep exploring.